I think there are very many highlights at this meeting, but if I were to compile in my head some main themes I see when it comes to myeloma, I think there are three main themes that I find attractive. One is what we have talked about, the newly diagnosed setting. There are multiple presentations focusing on newly diagnosed myeloma, and I think that's very important because you have now access to all these new drugs and there is MRD testing available. So being able to deliver deep and sustainable responses, ideally into MRD negativity, and also to cut back on drugs that can cause long-term toxicity. I think that is very, very important. And the focus on newly diagnosed myeloma is clearly here at ASH 2019. There are so many presentations on newly diagnosed. The second theme I think is that attracts me a lot is all the new insights on the biology of the disease. There are multiple studies investigating how this disease evolves. And there is data from sophisticated work by Dr. Mora. Francesco Mora gives an oral presentation here at the meeting showing that myeloma probably starts around age 20 and it can be lingering for a long time before its onset. And given the fact that myeloma has an average age of onset of around 70 years, that's a pretty striking pattern. So I think if this information can be further refined and there are possibilities to identify mechanism of this progression event, the ideal outcome would be that the switch from the precursor into myeloma could be identified before patients start developing symptoms and the disease is less advanced. And hopefully that could lead to tremendous outcomes, ideally into curative outcomes. The last thing I do think is exciting is, of course, all the new drugs. And the drug that really strikes me as very interesting in myeloma right now is probably the T-cell engager that was presented by BMS Celgene. And this is a BCMA CD3 targeted drug. A quite small number of patients being treated, but the results look spectacular. Very many patients have responded and deep responses. And there are many other of these bispecific antibodies in development. So a lot of new good stuff.